girls. Today we're going to learn about a god from the religion of Hinduism, which is the largest religion in the country of India. And this god has the body of a boy, but the head of an elephant. His name is Ganesha. Now, Ganesha is thought to be the mythology goes, or the myth goes, that he is kind of the leader of all the gods in Indian mythology. Ganesha is the Lord of letters and learning. We like that, right? Because we're in school to learn. He is also a remover of obstacles. So it could be a real obstacle like, I have to clean up my toys so I can get out of my room. Or it could be an obstacle in that something is standing in your way or preventing you from doing something, like, for example, maybe I need to learn to share better so I can be a better friend, that kind of obstacle. He is also the leader of all beings because he has persistence. So he sticks with stuff that even if it's hard, and he has a lot of courage. So I'm going to read a fun story to you and see if you can think why or how the attributes or the things that I just told you about, how they show up in this story. Okay. Ganesha's Sweet Tooth by Sanjay Patel and Emily Haynes. Ganesha's Sweet Tooth. While I'm reading, pay attention to all the patterns and designs in this book. Ganesha is a Hindu god. He is very important and powerful, and he's a tad chubby. But when he was a kid, he was just like any other kid, except he had an elephant's head and he cruised around on a magical mouse, collecting fruit, rice, sweets, and other gifts from the temples in his neighborhood. Ganesha loved to eat sweets and candy, especially the traditional Indian dessert laddu. His best friend, Mr. Mouse, could eat only one at a time, which was okay by Ganesha because he didn't want to share his laddus. Squeak! One day, while Ganesha and Mr. Mouse were out looking for sweets, they discovered a new kind of laddu, the Super Jumbo Jawbreaker laddu. Ganesha snatched up the shiny treat and was about to eat it right there on the spot. "Wait!" squeaked Mr. Mouse. "Don't eat it. It's a jawbreaker. It's going to break your tusk." "But I am a god," said Ganesha. "I am invincible." He popped that laddu into his mouth. He bit down and snap. Squeak! "Oh no," Mr. Mouse yelled. "Oh, how will I ever put my tusk back on?" Ganesha wailed. He was very clever, so he tried all sorts of ideas. "I could tie it with string. What if I stick it on with glue? Maybe I could hold it on with my hand." Nothing worked. "I look lopsided," he said. "Everyone's going to laugh at me." "No, they won't," said Mr. Mouse. "Everyone loses their teeth, and besides, you already have the head of an elephant, and your friends still love you." Ganesha wasn't convinced. He thought he looked awful. He took all of this anger and frustration and hurled his tusk up at the moon. But the tusk didn't hit the moon. It sailed over a bush and hit the head of an old man who happened to be walking by. "Why, is this your tusk?" the old man asked. "I'm sorry," said Ganesha. "I didn't mean to hit you. I was aiming for the moon. What's your name?" "I'm Ganesha, and this is Mr. Mouse." "You're Ganesha?" the old man said. "Why, I've been looking for you. My name is Vyasa the poet. I need a special scribe or writer to write a poem for me. It's so long no man could ever write the whole thing. All the pens in the world would break before it was done." "Well, I am not a man," said Ganesha, "and I do love stories, but I don't have anything to write with." "Well, what about your tusk?" Vyasa asked. "Oh, that's just a big tooth," Ganesha said. "Ah, but it's a very special tooth," Vyasa explained, handing Ganesha a piece of paper. "Give it a try." Ganesha took the paper and pressed down with the tip of his tusk, and it made a mark. Ganesha was so excited he drew a flower, a tree, and a picture of Mr. Mouse, along with a few of his favorite other things. "I love my tusk," said Ganesha. "I'd be happy to help you. What is this story about?" "It's about the very beginning of things," said Vyasa. "It's really rather hard to sum up. It's called the Mahabharata." "Excuse me," said Mr. Mouse, jumping on the end of Ganesha's trunk. "I don't mean to interrupt, but what exactly are the terms of this agreement? It's a very long poem, right? Can you tell the whole story in just one sitting, Vyasa, without stopping?" As long as Ganesha understands the meaning of everything I say, says Vyasa. Can I eat sweets while I write? Asked Ganesha. As long as you don't stop writing, said Vyasa. Ganesha and Mr. Mouse agreed. Let's begin. As Vyasa spoke, Ganesha put his tusk to the paper and he began writing. Soon he forgot all about the super jumbo jawbreaker ladoo and how funny he looked. He even forgot about all those sweets he wanted to eat. Long ago, Vyasa said, there lived a very brave king. One day when he was out hunting, he happened upon a beautiful woman sitting on the banks of the Ganesha River. 100,000 verses later, Ganesha put down his tusk. The Mahabharata, that great epic of Hindu literature, was complete. Ganesha peeked around a stack of paper and saw that Mr. Mouse had been eating his way through all the ladoos as they worked. That poem had taken a very long time. But Ganesha was happy to see there were still a few left for him and the rest of his friends. The end. So how does Ganesha show that he is the remover of obstacles? He finds that even though he doesn't have any paper and he doesn't have a writing instrument, he can write with his tusk. That's right. Vyasa helped him see that. Do you think he shows persistence? I think he shows persistence in the way that he wrote or he transcribed and wrote down everything that the poet Vyasa said, even though it took a really long time. Okay, boys and girls, I am going to show you how to make your own Ganesha, seated elephant. In the middle of an 8.5 by 11 or a 9 by 12 piece of white paper, you're going to draw a circle with an oval on top. It's okay if your oval overlaps your circle a little bit, and then on top of your top oval, that's your head, you're going to put a coffee cup shape. So this is his body and his head. In the top of that coffee cup shape, that little rectangular shape on top of the head oval, you want to draw a big, oversized, cartoony eyes with an iris and a big highlight. And then I'm going to color in the iris part of his eye black. I wanted to draw some kind of large eyebrows that looked like very expressive. I wanted to draw one of my tusks broken. And then I drew a big trunk that is curling around. I also wanted my Ganesha to have a smile. I think of the ears kind of shaped very large and shaped like butterfly wings or an exaggerated B, letter B. Now, on his crown or his headdress on top of his head, I am drawing a lotus flower. A lotus flower has one central petal and then 3 smaller petals on each side. The lotus flower is the symbol for purity or enlightenment in a lot of Eastern religions. Remember, my Ganesha is seated on a fancy cushion that I put on feet. You could just have a cushion sitting on the floor. You want to draw your Ganesha holding something. He can be holding candy or a mirror or whatever you want him to hold. So I've got one hand right out in front of him, and the other hand can be in front of him holding a bowl of candy, or it can be out to the side holding a bowl of candy. His legs are crisscross applesauce, so you can see the side of one foot and the top of the other foot. And his knees, I think, kind of look like baseball bats or just shapes underneath his body. Here's a split screen image showing you what his head looks like and his body, the bottom of his body up close. Go ahead and pause your video here so you can draw from these images. I'll see you next week, boys and girls. We're going to add color to Ganesha.